A warm good evening to everyone. Dear civil service aspirants, welcome to Vedika IAS Academy. So, as our last lab, we are going to discuss some of the important current affair based questions related to the topic of ecology and environment. First of all, let me give to a brief regarding the idea what type of questions that we are supposed to expect from the part of ecology and environment. As you know, we have a common preliminary examination for Indian civil services as well as Indian Forest Service examination. So you can expect a non-negligible weightage of the questions based on the ecology and environment, and by and large, that may be from the static portion or based on current affairs. As you know, when you look into the case of current affairs, we have to go through at least last 15-month current affairs. So if you are a student or an aspirant that you are supposed to write UPSC Civil Service examination on May 28th of 2023, then you have to look back into the current affairs even from the time of January 2022 up to March or April 2023. But when you go through the current affairs, please give importance to the current affairs even after October 2023, even after completing mains of 2022 UPSC Civil Services. And you know, the current affair is a vast wide portion. Now, what we can do is we can segregate. For example, if there is a national park is in use, so try to write down what is the name of the national park. If there is any kind of endemic or a protected species over there, try to mark it. Where is its location in the context of geography? Apart from that, you have to give whatever may be the names that is appearing in use. Because in UPSC, you can see the match the following pair, or they can ask where is the location of a particular national park. You can see it's a common question. So we are not supposed to by heart approximately about 550 wildlife sanctuaries, above 100 national parks. That is not possible, right? So what we are supposed to do is we can go through the current affairs, try to list out whatever may be the names that is automatically over the current affairs session and try to solve yourself. So in this live session, I'm going to discuss the important 10 current affair topics based on the session of ecology and environment. Remember, we are actually going to discuss in the perspective of a kind of a question answer manner. Okay, so I am expecting answer from your part. Okay, if it seems to be wrong, okay, just try to shoot it. But before that, make sure that you have to go through each and every option. And I will also give you some tips and tricks how you are supposed to eliminate a question or how you are supposed to answer a 3-statement or a 4-statement question, even if you don't know what is exactly the answer is. Okay, so first of all, let me share the screen first. Okay, I think the screen that I have shared is visible to everyone. As I already mentioned, I'm going to discuss some of the important questions based on the current affairs that we have to go through. Based on the current affairs. So make sure that you are not missing any sort of topics regarding whatever may be the things that we have discussed in our last lab session. Okay, so once again, I welcome you. So let's go through some of the important questions. Now, the first important question that we are going to discuss is regarding Stockholm plus 50 convention that was recently in news. In terms of ecology and environment, the Stockholm Convention, which is considered as first most important convention regarding the protection of environment. Now, we are actually celebrating the Stockholm Convention that is over after its 50 years. because the Stockholm Convention was held in the year of 1972. Okay. And apart from that, even after 20 years, you can see United Nations Conference on Environment and Development that was held in the year of 1992. We call them as Rio de Janeiro, Brazil Conference, or the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development. Okay. So the first important topic, because what is the purpose or why we are actually celebrating June 5th as our World Environmental Day? Because over the year, June 5th, 1972, what we have first held an exclusive conference on environmental protection. So the first important topic that we are going to supposed to discuss, that is regarding Stockholm Plus 50 Convention. Now, the conference marked 50th anniversary of the Stockholm Conference on the human environment. Okay. So the first statement itself, what is exactly mean by the Stockholm Plus 50 Convention is? The conference marks the 50th anniversary of Stockholm Conference on human environment. Obviously, that is a correct statement. Okay. The conference is expected to result in a political declaration that will guide environmental policies for the next decades. So that itself is what is the main agenda that has been put forward under Stockholm Plus 50 Convention is. So the answer is option C, both 1 and 2. So in the last lab, we are not supposed to expect what is the right answer is, rather than you have to make sure that at least we are not missing any sort of points regarding whatever may be the important questions that we are supposed to expect from the part of ecology and environment. So the first important topic is Stockholm Plus 50 Convention is. So let's go through a small description. So it is an international meeting that was convened by the United Nations General Assembly that was held in the year of Stockholm, Sweden, that is the year of June 2022. It will commemorate the 50 years since 1972 United Nations Conference on Human Environment, which is made an environment a pressing global issue for the very first time. Okay. So whatever may be the first meeting that they have addressed regarding what should be a kind of a significance of an environmental protection, that comes in the year of 1972 is. So you can see at some approximately 122 countries are there, and some of them has accepted some sort of principles also. And the United Nations Environment Program was created as a result of the conference itself. So these are some of the important key highlights regarding what should be the United Nations Environmental Program is. Okay. So the next important thing is, the question is regarding with the topic of green jobs. When you look into the previous year question paper, that is in 2022 UPSC Civil Services, you can see UPSC has asked a question regarding a particular terminology in connection with ecology and environment. That is, what is meant by the concept of greenwashing is. Similarly, our Prime Minister has announced that India is going to create a possible or the maximum number of green jobs in our country. So obviously, we are going to discuss regarding the topic of green jobs is. So just look into the question. Which among the following best describe the concept of green jobs that is often seen in news? Okay, so the concept is regarding what is exactly mean by the term called green jobs is. Now, the jobs that involves with green color such as landscapes or horticulture, jobs that are specifically designed to reduce the environmental impacts, job that involve working in environmental friendly products, job that requires the employees to wear a green uniform. Suppose if you have any confusion regarding with any of the questions, and in UPSC also, I hope everybody is familiar with how we are supposed to write an answer, right? Especially in case of UPSC preliminary examination. There is a 3-round reading of question paper. Over the first round, you have to go through whatever may be the questions in the question paper, and you are supposed to mark only whatever may be the questions that you are familiar with. Okay, For example, when you are going through the question paper, you are 100% sure regarding a particular question. Over the first round, only those questions that you are supposed to mark. Over the second round of reading, when you are going through the first round, you can see in a 1 or 2 or 3 statement question, maybe one statement that you know. Maybe you are stuck with 2 or 3 options or the statements are there. So over the first round reading part, mark those questions in your question paper. After that, try to find out whatever may be any kind of elimination or anything is possible over the second round of reading. Then over the third round, once you get at least 80 or 81 questions, once you complete the first and second round of the answering, make sure that you are not making any kind of unwanted mistakes, because getting the right marks is equal to reducing the wrong answers. Okay, because as you know, as far as how much you are supposed to reduce whatever may be the wrong answers over your multiple choice question papers, obviously your marks also will affected over that. Okay, so similar type of question. So obviously the question is regarding the concept of green jobs is. So even if you have any kind of common sense, you are supposed to easily answer these questions, because you are easily supposed to eliminate option A and option D. Why? See, the job that involve working with a green color such as landscapes and horticulture. What about this particular statement? That seems to be a kind of a childish statement, right? So obviously option A seems to be wrong. Then the last option also, job that requires employees to wear green uniforms. See, again, the kind of an unprofessional statement is given, right? So either option B or option C. So just go through option B. The job that's specifically designed to reduce the environmental impact of industries and activities. Maybe we are just stuck, right? So just wait over there. The job that involve working with environmental friendly products such as organic foods and renewable energy sources. So if we are actually stuck with either option B or option C, because they are very close options, right? Now the thing is that how we are supposed to eliminate the wrong option, because getting the right answer among the 4 options is equal to eliminating the wrong 3 options also, right? So because if you are able to eliminate 3 options, if you thoroughly know what is exactly the option is. The other word is, even though you are not supposed to know what is exactly the correct option is, still you are able to answer it by eliminating the 3 wrong options. So your next question must be, sir, without knowing how we are supposed to eliminate the wrong options, right? So let's check it. So here we are not thorough with what is exactly meant by the term called green job. Still you are able to eliminate 2 wrong statements, but still you don't know it, right? Now again, we want to eliminate 1 or more option, then only we are supposed to get what is the right option is. So when you go through option B, okay, that seems to be a kind of correct statement. And when you go for option C also, it seems to be similar, but it is something focused over the renewable energy sources and even organic foods. So can we say those who are working over the organic food industries or renewable energy sources, for example, someone is working in hydroelectric projects or even solar or even wind, can we say they are green jobs? Obviously no. Why? Because itself in the manufacturing process of this particular solar panels, or even in case of the wind farms or the windmills, obviously there will be a kind of pollution is there, right? So basically the concept of green jobs means whatever may be the jobs, but it have a very little or no impact over the environment. Such jobs we collectively call them as green jobs. So option B is the correct answer. See, this is actually a simple question. Exactly over this manner, what UPSC asks regarding with what is meant by the term called green jobs that is often seen in news, that is in the year of 2022. So this is the way of approach, even if you don't know a particular answer. Okay, so try to work out in this manner. But I'm again telling you, if you are not much thorough with it, don't go for that. Okay. Now, this is actually regarding with the green jobs explanation is what is meant by the term called green jobs according to International Labour Organization. And apart from that, what is its significance? That is very important. Okay. So over that perspective, you have to look into what is basically meant by the term called green jobs. What is its significance? What is its long-term impacts? Because in UPSC mains, if there is a question like that, there is no such option is given in your paper, right? So you have to know about what is meant by the term called green jobs, what it is significant, what is the significance of green jobs in a very long manner. Okay. The next thing, consider the following statements regarding ethanol blended petrol that is often seen in news. Okay, so the question is regarding with the petroleum which is mixed with ethanol. You may be familiar with E20 fuels, right? What is basically E20 fuels is, okay, what about the petroleum products that we were buying? For example, for your bike, you are supposed to pour petrol into it. Is it 100% petroleum? No. It contains 80% petrol and 20% ethanol content in it. Okay, ethanol content in it. Now, consider the following statements regarding ethanol blended petrol that is often seen in news. It is a petrol that is mixed with water, a type of renewable fuel that is made from plant material. Obviously, because in case of ethanol blended petrols, you can see the addition of ethanol that is considered as one of the renewable fuel. So statement 1 is correct. It is important because it reduces the amount of fossil fuels that will help us to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. So whenever there is a high dependency over the fossil fuels, you can see there is an increasing over the atmospheric emissions. So addition of the ethanol, we are supposed to save the precious fossil fuel. Along with it was also help us to reduce whatever may be the amount of greenhouses that is being emitted into the atmosphere. Second statement is also correct. Ethanol blended petrol is safe for use in most modern vehicles and improve the engine performance also. So basically in this context, all the given statements are correct. So you have to find out whether the statements are correct. So option D is the right answer. Remember here also, if UPSC is giving to find out the not correct statement. Okay, so that is also a possible question over UPSC questions. So when you are supposed to try to an answer, please make sure that you are answering correctly. Now, one of the another major area of question by UPSC that is regarding with the name of a species is in use. So you can see billions of species across the world, right? So how we are supposed to categorize it? For example, if there is a particular species that is under heavy protection was in news, so try to focus over those species. For example, the Great Indian Bustard. See, in terms of those flying birds, one of the heavy weight or a heavy bird over its body weight, which was able to fly, that is Great Indian Bustard. And they are actually highly protected in our country. So the question is regarding with the Great Indian Bustards, because the court has recently asked to the Rajasthan government, what are the different measures that you are supposed to adopt to protect our Great Indian Bustards? Okay, so even I have already given you a clue, right? It's already asked to Rajasthan. So obviously what might be its possible location? Obviously the northwestern parts of India, right? Now I have already mentioned that these species are highly protected in our country. And we are not supposed to know what is exactly an entire information related with what is meant by the term called Great Indian Bustard. And I have already mentioned you, there are some questions in UPSC, even you will get the answer by eliminating the wrong options, even though you are not able to find out what is exactly the right answer is. Correct. So this is an example for that question. Okay. So just imagine I'm nothing say about what is exactly the location of this particular Great Indian Bustard is. So when you get this question, when you are going through, okay, they are primarily found in India and its historical range, which includes central, western, or even northern India. You don't know what is its exact location is, right? So just leave the first statement. Go to the second statement. They are listed as endangered or IUCN Red List and the National Wildlife Action Plan. So under the IUCN Red List, you can see extended species, critically endangered, vulnerable. You can see a lot of species are there, right? But we are not supposed to remember what should be the exact status of the protection under IUCN Red List or how far they are threatened. We are not supposed to remember, right? But the third statement, they are listed under Schedule 2 under the Indian Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Here comes the significance. I have already mentioned one of the most important species that is expected to get the high amount of protection. And according to the recent statistics, whatever may be the number of population of Great Indian Bustard, that is almost less than 200. So obviously, what do you think about the schedule? If you know what is the schedule of Indian Wildlife Protection Act and Schedule 1 to Schedule 6 over the previous 1972 Act, and at present there are 4 schedules under Wildlife Protection Amendment Act of 2022. So being one of the highly protected, what about including schedule? Here comes the wrong statement. Okay, they are included under Schedule 1, not Schedule 2. So third statement is wrong. If you know the third statement is wrong, you are supposed to eliminate option B, option C, as well as option D. Then only one option left, that is option A. So this is the method of elimination that you are able to solve a similar problems or the similar questions in UPSC civil service, but you have to be some sort of knowledge, because the Great Indian Bustard was in news. So obviously in the newspaper, they will give this particular data. They are included under Schedule 1. That is why the court itself has asked what are the different measures that you have taken, right? So if the question regarding with a specific species by the court, obviously you have to remember, not in all circumstances, but majority cases, we can see that these things are highly protected, and the species highly protected, that brings under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So here the third statement is wrong. Third statement is wrong. You are supposed to eliminate option B, C, and D. So option A, one only is the right answer. The next important topic that is regarding dark sky reserves. Again, one of the important topic that is directly or indirectly connected to ecology as well as science and technology. So with reference to the dark sky reserves, often seen in news, consider the following statements. So it is designated as the area that has minimal light pollution and is kept free of artificial light. So if you at least go through what is meant by the term called a dark sky reserve in news, you are supposed to answer it. Apart from that, why that particular thing comes in news? Here comes the significance, right? So recently, India has established its first dark sky reserve, but that is not in Himachal Pradesh, that is in Ladakh. So that itself is the news. Okay, India is going to establish a first dark sky reserve over the part of Ladakh with the help of Ladakh authorities. Okay, so the second statement itself is wrong. And remember, it is not any kind of factual question. Okay, when you go through the newspaper and if you have noticed that the new dark sky reserve that is going to come up in a Ladakh region, obviously second statement is wrong. Okay, if second statement is wrong, you are supposed to eliminate option B and option D, right? So then only two options left, either one only or 1 and 3 only. From that itself, you can say first statement is correct, because here one only, here and here is only one. Now, what about the last statement? The International Dark Sky Association is the organization that recognizes and designates the reserves. See, that seems to be a common statement, right? There is nothing extreme in it. There is nothing unusual in it. Okay, so option C is the right answer in this context. But if you are stuck with approximately 60 to 62 questions in your UPSC syllabus service, you can eliminate this particular method. It is not a method of complete elimination. But if you know the fact that why the dark sky reserve was in news, you are supposed to eliminate statement 2. If you are supposed to eliminate statement 2, you are supposed to eliminate option B and option D. So here comes our possibility of getting right answer, because whatever may be the number of options that you have eliminated, the chance of getting a right answer seems to be very high. Okay, so in this question, option C, 1 and 3 only is the right answer. Yes, one of the another important question that is regarding with a factual question. India's first fully powered solar village, that is. So when you look into the options also, UPSC has given some sort of the location that was previously in news. Okay, there are a lot of incidents, and as you know, India is actually giving a much more focus over the development of green energies, right? So that is something related with this question. India's first fully solar powered village. Yes, that is Mothera in Gujarat. Okay, option B is the right answer. But remember, all these places was in news. So let's check why. The Palli in Jammu and Kashmir, that is the first carbon neutral panchayat in our country. Okay, so that is why Palli, Jammu and Kashmir was in news. It's actually the first carbon neutral panchayat in our country. Then Ramakundam, Telangana. Recently, we have inaugurated the largest floating solar park. Again, that is why the Ramakundam, Telangana was in news. See, when you are not thoroughly go through the question paper or in your newspaper reading, you will get confused over examination halls. Whatever may be the different villages that they have given over the options, that seems to be almost very close options because all these places was in news. So it's option C. Sorry, option B, Modhera, Gujarat. Yes, one of the another important part, that is some of the important reports or any kind of study that has been released by UPSC. So Living Planet Report 2022, that was often seen in news, is released by. So irrespective of UPSC, civil services, whatever may be the different competitive examination, you can see over apart from UPSC, these are actually some of the important current affair or general knowledge based current affair questions. They will give you the name of a report and you have to find out which agency or institution or an organization is publishing the same. So one of the most highlighted report that was recently used is that is regarding a Living Planet report of 2022. And remember option B, World Wildlife Fund for Nature or WWF. They have actually released the report of Living Planet report of 2022. Apart from that, there are a lot of reports was in news. So when you are preparing for UPSC civil services, write down the list of each and every reports was in news. Try to make a proper revision on it. Okay. So in this question, option B, World Wildlife Fund for Nature, that is the correct answer. The next important concept, I hope you have already go through Adul sir class and he has already discussed regarding the concept of sovereign green bonds. Now, again, in this question also, when you go through first, second or third statements, and when you go through the options, this is actually very simple to answer, even if you don't know what is exactly mean by sovereign green bonds. You are familiar with the term called sovereignty, right? And you are familiar with the term called bonds, but you may be familiar with, may not be familiar with what is meant by the term called sovereign green bonds are there, right? Now, just imagine if you are a fresher that you are going to attend UPSC examination over 2023, you just go through sovereign bonds in any newspaper, for example, maybe a local newspaper, but still you are able to answer it if you don't know thoroughly the same thing. Okay. So when you go through the options, okay, the first statement, they are typical bonds issued by the governments to finance climate friendly projects. May or may not be correct. We are not much aware, right? So just go through second statement. They are exclusively used to fund renewable energy products. See, actually the term itself mentioned that it's actually a bond, right? So are we able to supply a certain bonds by making a kind of an exclusive condition? Obviously, it will gradually affect the stock market regulators in our country. Because thing is that in case of a kind of exclusively funding for the energy projects, how we can say a kind of a green financing can always go to renewable projects. For example, there are there are a lot of exclusive funds, which is not about the funding exclusively for renewable energy, rather that whatever may be the basic eco-friendly projects are there, you can use the funding via means of sovereign green bonds. So it's option second one, seems to be wrong. Again, but just imagine if you don't know what is its purpose. The last statement, they are only issued by developing countries. Is that so? Obviously no, right? Because in case of these bonds, mainly these bonds need to buy by a kind of US, France, Russia, such kind of industrialized nations are there. Am I right? So what about the last statement? They are only issued by developing countries. Absolutely wrong, right? Why? Because it can issued by developing as well as developed countries. Okay, so the last statement seems to be very extreme in nature. Third statement must be eliminated. So option A, B can be eliminated, C can be eliminated, as well as D can also be eliminated. So that's regarding with the sovereign green bonds. So this is wow, a beautiful question, even if you don't know it, but you know what is meant by the term called sovereignty. You are familiar with what is meant by the term called bonds. Then you are supposed to answer this question, right? So this is not just a kind of a one night derived method. Okay, you have to continuously practice the model test. Then only you are supposed to get what should be the right answer to these questions. Okay, because when you're thoroughly going through the newspaper, thoroughly going some model question papers, and if you get these type of questions, make sure that you won't miss it. Because whatever may be the questions with 3 or more statement questions in your UPSC civil service, even if you don't know it, don't leave those questions. Just mark in your first round reading. When you go through the second round reading, try to find out whether you are able to solve it. Okay. So question number 8, it's option A. One only is the right answer. The second last question, consider the following statements regarding that heat domes sometimes in news. So the question is regarding with the heat domes, right? So they are a result of high pressure systems that traps heat in the atmosphere. They only occur in tropical regions. Heat domes have been linked to climate change as ignoring global temperature and conditions that are favorable for its formation as well as persistence. Okay. So the question is basically regarding with the term called a heat dome that was recently in use. Now, again, when you go through all the given 3 statements, you can still able to find one of the point is not pursued. See, in case of the heat domes, whatever may be the areas affected by the heat domes, obviously there will be presence of water. Am I right? It's not about the water, whatever may be the areas with a significant amount of water. Sorry for the mistake. Now, what about the second statement? They only occurs in tropical region. Is that so? No. Apart from the tropical region, it can also be expected in temperate zone also. So the second statement seems to be an extreme statement, only occurs, right? Apart from tropical regions, you can see in case of temperate regions also. Clear? So second statement is wrong. You are supposed to eliminate option B as well as option D. See, 2 options has left, right? Then only supposed to be expect a 50-50 chance, 1 only or 1 and 3 only. So which means that without reading, we can say 1 is correct. What about the last statement? Heat domes have linked to climate change as increasing global temperature can create that favorable in their formation and persistence. What do you think about the last statements? Heat domes have a link to the climate change, obviously an increasing global temperature and can create the favorable for their information and persistence. See, over the third statement, it's wrong. Okay, so it's option. Sorry for the mistake. Third is also correct, right? There is no extreme statement. So that is basically why heat domes are using, right? Global temperature can create conditions that are favorable for their information and persistence. Obviously, because that is a generalized statement, right? So it's option C. 1 and 3 only is the right answer to this question. And the last question is hydrogen IC engines. In 2020, there is a question regarding with the HCNGs, hydrogen blended compressed natural gases. Okay. So with reference to the hydrogen internal combustion engines, consider the following statements. It used hydrogen gas as the fuel instead of gasolines. It produced no emission and environmental friendly. it can to be retrofitted on the existing gasolines or diesel engines. So what about the 10th question? So the news is that recently the Reliance Industries has developed, okay, they have developed a kind of internal combustion engines or a kind of a normal engine that is being powered with the hydrogen as the fuels. So what about the current scenario? What do you think? Are we using over everywhere or anywhere regarding with what should be a kind of hydrogen as a fuel? Yes, we are using. Okay, so you may be familiar with the term called the calorific values, right? So whatever may be the amount of heat that has been produced by the hydrogen, that is far better as compared to coal, petroleum, or even natural gas. So it uses hydrogen gas as the fuel instead of gasoline or diesel. Statement 1 is correct. It produces no emission and is eco-friendly. That is also correct, because in case of hydrogen, they are actually combining hydrogen plus oxygen. That will only the byproduct is heat and water. And remember, to an extent, the water is also edible for the purpose of drinking too. Okay. So statement 1 is correct. There is no pollution and eco-friendly project. Statement 2 is also correct. It can be retrofitted onto the existing gasolines or engine required. See, actually, for example, you can see there are a lot of hybrid cars are there, right? So basically how they're actually working, hybrid cars. Because even without any much modification, we are supposed to bring a kind of hybrid cars are there. So similarly, in case of hydrogen, because traditionally the Indians are actually looking, depends on the petroleum as well as diesel, right? So basically, if we are not supposed to be suddenly stop all these productions, gradually it will affect whatever may be the entire energy security of the nation. So what we are supposed to do is we are gradually replace one form of energy to another form. So in case of the hydrogen based internal combustion engines, what the company claims that there is no production of emission as well as eco-friendly projects will be there. Then it can be retrofitted onto the existing gasolines or diesel engines. What about the last statement? Without any much more modification, are we able to shift towards the hydrogen powered internal combustion engines? So if there is a question that, like, obviously there are a lot of factors that depends upon, right? For example, it should be viable, it should be available, it should be accessible. But in this case, what we are supposed to expect is that the hydrogen internal combustion engines that is gradually using a kind of hydrogen gas as fuel instead of a gasoline or diesels. Apart from that, it produces no emission. That is a correct statement, because instead of any kind of fossil fuels which is emitting a greenhouse gas, why can't we shift towards this hydrogen as a fuel? Because in case of hydrogen, only the byproduct, that is heat and water, and the water is edible for the purpose of drinking also. 1 and 2 is correct. If 1 and 2 is correct, and even if you have any doubt over the last statement, retrofitted onto existing gasoline engines, still you maybe have some sort of doubts. But even without knowing it, you are able to answer it. How? See, as we already discussed, 1 and 2 is right? When you look into the option, the only one option with 1 and 2 is correct. That is option D. So obviously the answer must be option D. 1, 2, and 3 is the right answer. See, even in case of 3, see, we are not supposed to get each and every question like that. I'm not saying that. But at least if you are getting 3 to 4 or 5 questions in your UPSC civil services question paper, apart from the different topics in this manner, at least you will get 10 marks, right? Without any much more investment. So don't miss these type of questions. That is why over the beginning of the live session itself that I have mentioned, even if you don't know what is exactly a right answer based on 3 statement, 4 statement, or 5 statement, or above 5 statement questions, don't leave the question. Okay, at least go through that particular question. And if you are getting anything to eliminate or try to find out what should be the right answer, don't miss that. Okay, but in case of it is not applicable in case of just one option or a 2 statement questions are there. Okay, so that's all regarding with some of the important current affair based topics that we are supposed to expect. So remember, we have discussed regarding the 10 important topics. That is not just explaining what the concept is, because we do not have time to learn what is the concept is. Rather, what I have explained is through some sort of questions so that you are supposed to get how we are able to make it. Okay. So remember, please go through the current affair based questions because over the UPSC it is very important. Rather than that, try to find out the more similar questions based on what should be the important current affair topics, even from the month that we have already mentioned over the last 15 months. Okay. So that's all regarding some of the important topics from the part of ecology and environment. If you have any further doubts, you are free to contact with mentors to the Vedic IAS Academy. So thank you all, and good night.